Hey up everyone, in today's video we're talking about what the fuck's going on with UFC 303. So UFC 303 was meant to be taking place in just 2 weeks time, and that card was meant to be headlined by Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, but unfortunately Conor McGregor has had to pull out of the fight due to injury, and now we have Alex Pereira taking on Yuri Prochazka in a rematch on just 2 weeks notice. Now fair play to Alex Pereira. Deciding to defend your title on 2 weeks notice is fucking mental, especially against the likes of Yuri Prochazka, which is a very dangerous fight. Now I know we got this fight, was it late last year, and Alex Pereira was able to get the finish against Yuri Prochazka, but Yuri Prochazka, he had a lot of success against Alex Pereira, and I feel like a lot of people actually forgetting that that was the case. He had some success on the feet, and he had some success when it came to the grappling. Now I do think Alex Pereira wins this rematch. However, I wouldn't count out Yuri. I think that's a stupid thing to do, but I'm very excited that this is a new main event at UFC 303. In fact, I actually think this is a better main event than Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. Yes, I understand everyone was excited for McGregor to come back. He was finally coming back after about 3 years out, I believe. No, it was 3 years out, yes. 3 years out. Michael Chandler's always in bangers. He's almost been out for like 2 years now as well. So it was going to be very fun to watch and very interesting. But I think that Pereira and Yuri just is guaranteed violence, and I'm very happy about that matchup. I knew we were going to get this rematch down the line. I think they were planning on doing the fight anyway, which I kind of feel sorry for Ankalaev. But regardless, Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira, the rematch, I'm not going to argue against that in the slightest. There's also been a change to the co-main event. Originally, it was meant to be Jamal Hill taking on Carlos Ulberg, but now we get Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez, and that is an absolute banger. I believe that is a massive upgrade over the original idea of Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg. Don't get me wrong, I think Hill versus Ulberg would have been a fun fight, an interesting fight, given that Hill, got sparked out only a few months prior to fighting again. But I feel like this might have been a blessing in disguise for Jamal Hill. He had to pull out of the fight with an injury to his knee. And I feel like this might have been a blessing in disguise because we don't know how his chin would have held up. Like I said, only a few months after getting sparked out by Alex Pereira. So this one could be a good thing for Jamal Hill, and he can just get back in the octagon after he's healed. I don't know what the severity of the injury is. Hopefully he's not out for too long because he is quite fun to watch. But yeah, Carlos Ulberg is still on the card, believe it or not. He will now be taking on Anthony Smith. Yes, that is a downgrade. However, we still get to see Carlos Ulberg on the card. And I actually still think that's an interesting matchup. I think everyone's going to believe that Ulberg wins. And I do as well. But I do think Smith could cause an upset here like he did recently against, who was it now? Petrino or whatever his name is, undefeated prospect. He was able to get him out there in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Smith can cause a massive upset here. But Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez is the co-main event. Oh my god, what a banger. And if Diego Lopez can beat Brian Ortega, he's in title contention. I feel like one more win would get him a title shot, maybe against Movsar, something like that. And I feel like this just gets the 145 division kind of pumping again. You got the likes of Ilya versus Max, or potentially the rematch between him and Volkanovski. You got Movsar and Aljo talking about fighting one another. You got Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze taking place in the not so distant future. And now you're going to be getting Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega, again, an absolute banger. And I really can't wait to see this fight. A big opportunity for Diego Lopez. Can he keep the hype train going? And I just think stylistically this is a great fight. Brian Ortega has decent stand-up, great grappling as well. And the same goes for Diego Lopez, and he's shown he has great power. But this is a big step in competition, and it's going to be very good to see whether Diego Lopez can step up and show that he is on this. He is how good he seems to be at the moment. He's been wiping through everyone, and it'll be a very interesting fight, and I really can't wait for this one. Now, I do believe that UFC 303 is much better now than it was before, but we've got to talk about a certain placement of a certain fight, and that is Bueno Silva taking on Chiasson. Sorry if I butchered the name, but why is that on the main card? Why the fuck is that on the main card, man? I don't get that at all. It shouldn't be on the main card. Don't know why they're putting that fight on the main card. It makes no sense to me. I don't think it'll be an entertaining fight. I would actually argue putting Peyton Talbot on the main card. Simply because he's meant to be a new big prospect in the 135 division. Give him a good showcase on the main card. You know, you got starting off the main card with Michael Venom Page and Ian Gary. And yes, this fight should probably be the co-main, really. But I understand why they're starting off the main card with this, because it's a marquee fight, you know, very interesting fight, two decent-sized names. So it makes a lot of sense why that's starting off the main card. But yeah, I just don't see why Bueno Silva and Chiasson is second on the main card. This fight shouldn't be on the main card. I'd actually rather have the first fight on the entire card, Ricky Simone versus Vinicius Oliveira, on the main card instead of Bueno Silva and Chiasson. It makes no sense to me. That's just me, you know. I don't really see the reason why that fight's on the main card. It doesn't really make much sense to me, and I do think it's going to be a bit of a dud of a fight. And then some bonus news. This has nothing to do with UFC 303, but it does take place next week. Robert Whittaker was scheduled to take on Khamzat Chimaev. We are no longer getting that, as Khamzat Chimaev is now apparently ill. Really, really ill as well. So now we're getting Ikram Aliskerov taking on Robert Whittaker in a 5-round fight. Now this, again, sort of like Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega, is a big step up for the likes of Ikram, you know. I think he might be just got in the top 15, might not even be in the top 15. And now he's getting a top 5 opponent in Robert Whittaker, well experienced, very well rounded, and very, very gifted. I don't know. I think Whittaker wins this. But it's a big risk for Whittaker, and fair play to Whittaker, man. You know, you can't really argue against that, taking a big risk. Same goes for Brian Ortega, taking a big risk. But with Ortega, it's a bit different because he's sat out for so long. With Whittaker, I feel a bit more thingy because he always seems to be fighting every fucker. You know, he doesn't give a shit about who he's fighting. He will fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. And I can't wait for this fight. I would have preferred against Khamzat, but it's whatever now. Stuff like this happens. It's been a hectic past week, really, when it comes to fight cancellations, whether McGregor and Chandler would happen or not. Now we know that it's not. You know, you've had Khamzat and Whittaker. That's no longer happening. You know, all these fights that are no longer happening. But thankfully, there has been decent replacements, in my opinion. And I can't wait to see next week with Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. And I can't wait to see UFC 303. I was really scared it was going to be an awful fight card. But they've managed to salvage quite a decent fight card, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Are you happy with the changes to UFC 303? Do you think it's an upgrade? Do you think it's a downgrade? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.